Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Steven Stomberg, the CFO and COO of Bittrex Global, the host of our video AMA today. We are joined by not one, but three guests from TheFutbolCoin, or TFC. First, we have, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher these names, but Steve van Zutphen, the co-founder of TFC, George Kafkarou, the other co-founder of TFC, and Kevin Campbell, who's the ambassador of TFC, and it goes without saying, a former Premier League star, and I know our Arsenal fans are stoked. So thanks, gentlemen, for joining us today. Bittrex Global team's excited about the partnership we're building with all of you at TFC.
Thanks, Steven.
So in these AMAs, we source questions from the Bittrex Global community, the crypto communities, including your community, regarding TFC's listing. So let's dive in. The first question, and it's to all of you, whoever wants to answer. One community member read your white paper and wants to understand better what's meant by monetizing human attention to football. So what's the economic model behind TFC and monetizing human attention to football?
Good question. The answer to this is football is driving most of the digital attention in Twitter and Instagram, and you have billions of people paying attention to their favorite players, to talking in WhatsApp groups, to Reddit forums, Facebook groups, and that monetization is spread around Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and that it's a massive economy that's created people paying attention to football through digital means. And the idea with the football app was to create something dedicated specifically to the football fan, but from a social perspective, it's got elements of live score, but it's not a live score app. It's a social, interactive, gamified network. And by drawing people's attention and giving them a better experience on chatting and interacting with other fans and playing games and following their favorite clubs, we are accessing a huge amount of human attention. And then, of course, the monetization to that, primarily through advertising, and then indirectly that accrues to the coin, because we made it so that with the football coin, the only way that you can buy advertising in the football app is by using the football coin. So when we're talking about monetizing the attention of digital in the football world, this is the heart of it.
Great. George or Kevin, you have anything you want to add to that? Or
yeah, sure. There are about 4 billion fans around the world that follow football. Okay.
Let's just be clear, we mean soccer for the Americans watching, not American football.
Yeah, for our American brethren, it's soccer. And I spent 22 years in the US, so I'm very familiar with that. Yeah, there are 4 billion fans around the world. And, football has many constituents. It has great players like Kevin was, he's a legend. You have clubs, you have managers, but the most important constituent, by a country mile, as we say in the UK, is the fan. And we enable and we share that monetization that Steve mentioned with the fan. And it's like when you watch your favorite TV program, it's likely that there are millions of people watching it. So the attention to that is very high. The app that we have is that engaging, it's very attractive. So the monetization opportunities are very significant for all the community that are involved.
Great. So just, I think building on the first question, and this is a great question, there's a lot of other sports-related blockchain projects already out there. I can think of a few. So how are you unique to other blockchain projects, other tokens that are already trading, that are involved in sort of this sports arena?
So one of the main differentiating factors that we have is a very mature product ecosystem. There's a lot of people that want to do sports-related tokens, and there's many initiatives in that regard. But we started in the other way with creating an enabling ecosystem that would power bring people, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people who are already following football in different ways, bring them into our platform. And we took years to build and mature that. We did it's a long, hard road, or as the AC/DC said, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. And we paid the price to really learn how to serve our audience. And then we inserted the token into the ecosystem once everything was working, so that our big advantage is a great product that's an enabling infrastructure.
I think you've inadvertently aged yourself by using an AC/DC quote, which I'm sure most of the younger viewers have no idea. That was a band back in the day. Okay, so I think interestingly, Kevin, what's the story behind you getting into crypto? How did you get involved with this project? I think tell us a bit more about yourself too, for those who aren't familiar.
Yeah, I got involved in the crypto space, just learning about it about 10 years ago. And it came after a trip to Dallas in Texas. And we got a friend out there who was telling us all about Bitcoin. But at that time, if we're early now, you could imagine what it was like 10 years ago.
Did you buy any Bitcoin 10 years ago?
No, because it wasn't easy to buy.
It was very hard, actually.
It was very hard to buy. I was busy. I had so much to do, and I didn't go into the Bitcoin space. But here's the funny thing. A few years later, he called me and said, did you get some Bitcoin? So I said, no, I didn't get any Bitcoin. So he started to tell me what's going to happen in the future, etc. So I thought, great. It still was hard to buy. And then obviously the curiosity, I've got a curious mind. I started to learn about it a little bit more. And then I started to understand what was going on. And I thought, this space is definitely going to take off in the future. So I'm going to try and familiarize myself with what's going on. And that's what I've done. And then a good friend of mine introduced me to Steve and George and told me about their project. And it was like hand inside a glove when they told me what they wanted to do. The key for me was everybody wins. That's the saying within the football coin and the football app. Everybody wins. If you could have the advertisers winning, you could have the users winning, and the football in general, the football community winning. I think that's a really, really powerful statement and a really powerful movement. And also the charities, because within the football space, there's a lot of charity that needs, a lot of people that need help with charity. So that's why I'm here, especially. And I'm an investor as well. So I'm not just talking, I'm an investor too.
Good. No, I like to hear it. I like everybody's a winner. That's what we want to hear. So I'm sure everybody who buys a token is going to be a winner too. Although we can't say that, of course. That's investment advice. But who's the most important constituent in the whole football ecosystem, would you say? That's to any of you, but maybe Kevin.
For me, it's what drives it is the fan. The fan is the more fans that are on that get on the platform and engage and actually utilize the app and the coin is the quicker this thing grows and the stronger it becomes. Because if you have the app but you don't have the community, what do you have? You don't have anything. So the fan is the most important person always. I think because of COVID, what's happening now, the franchises and the football clubs are realizing just how important the fan is. I think it's all about timing. The app comes out at the right time, especially now that the pandemic's here and hopefully we're moving out of it so the fan gets recognized.
Yeah.
So go ahead, George.
Can I add to that? Yeah. Kevin is so right. You know, if you're passionate about football or soccer, it's the fan that transcends the ages. It is very common for the children to support the same team as the parents, right? And it's very common for the grandchildren to support the same team as the parents and the grandparents. And the grandparents share wonderful experiences of, I'm a crazy Spurs fan, God help me, Tottenham Hotspur, right? And I remember as an 8-year-old kid watching some greats that I tell my children about, right? And hopefully one day when they have children, I'm going to tell their children about it, right? And I'm no different. I'm just very typical. And everybody, all fans are the same in football. You know, you could be rich, you could be poor, you could be educated. It doesn't matter. We're all equal. And it's a great equalizer. And that passion of the fan transcends the ages. And that's what makes the game, as we call it, the beautiful game, right?
Agreed. So I think what's interesting too, you know, for especially Americans who are listening who can't access the token on our exchange, but you know, there's 4 billion fans for football or soccer. I mean, it dwarfs any sort of U.S. kind of sports. And speaking of which, so in terms of numbers, you know, how many TFC holders are there? You know, what's the total supply of the football coin going to be?
Yeah, so because we knew the size of the community is billions, we created 1.5 billion TFC tokens on the Stellar blockchain with a fixed locked account. So there's no ability to create any more tokens. And, you know, it's not even enough for 1 token per fan in the future in our wild dreams coming true, which is what the idea was when we created that supply. And currently, we started the launch of the app on a Greek island, and you know, with software applications, which is driving the usage and adoption of the football coin, you're looking at you know, how can you retain users for how long, and you're looking at growth rates. So how many downloads we have or how many users we have, we're paying attention to the growth rates. And on the island here of 1 million people, we managed to get 150,000 wallet holders on a Greek island. And the growth rate is 8% per month, and they're spending 25 minutes per day in the app. So now we're moving to the bigger geographies with this very good track record and good metrics on the things that we thought were important before expansion. So it's 150,000 wallet holders, 1 million real world transactions, because there's 100 businesses on the island that accept the token because they want to reach these users. So yeah, that's where we're at as an ecosystem today.
Great. I mean, obviously, you're with the token and the launch, you're going global. So, and what is the overall the app's growth rate? Is it 8% that you mentioned, or
Yeah.
is it, okay? So it's 8%.
Yeah, it's 8%, and you know, there might be temporarily because now that we're getting the exposure through Bittrex Global, there may be a temporary spike up of a lot of people who are getting wallets that maybe didn't participate in the app. But over time, the app is going to drive the growth of the app in wallets. And one of the very nice things about that, it's going to drive it to people who are maybe completely new to crypto, and some of them might not even have the ability to access an exchange, but they can still get a wallet in the app. They can still use it. They can earn tokens in the app, and they can spend it at local businesses. And then as they grow in that, they might go further and start getting into the world of exchange. So we are a mass market play. And yeah, so those parts are kind of exciting for us to see what happens now that we're getting worldwide exposure with this model.
So obviously with the token, you're global ex-US overnight with us, but where are you targeting? Are there specific markets or countries you're targeting with the coin and the app?
Yeah, we're specifically targeting in our next quarter, UK. We're going to have Glasgow.
I'm sure Kevin's glad to hear.
Newcastle and Manchester. We're going to set up a little bits of outposts where businesses on the ground accept TFC, and then we're going to launch through fan clubs and through the connections we have to the football world. We're going to launch and push the app to accelerate our growth in those areas. We're also going to Southern California, where you have, you know, maybe 60% Latino population who are incredibly serious about soccer. and where we also have a business partner on the ground that can accept the token, and then Brazil, which of course, a lot of people, and they kind of like football and crypto.
They like football there, don't they?
I heard they like it. Yeah, I heard they like football a little bit in Brazil, and they like cryptocurrency a little bit. And so those are our next three focuses. And I think a success in those markets, or any one of those three areas, takes off, we simply accelerate our growth tremendously. And I think that'll just start filling in the other countries automatically if everything goes well in those in any one of those markets, actually.
And we got one question specifically: if you have a community in Nigeria, which is a big crypto place, do you have one there?
We sure do. And you're talking about a country with 200 million people and a huge young population who are super savvy about cryptocurrency. I think that's one of the highest usages of cryptocurrency in the world is in Nigeria, something like 32%. And they're incredibly in the top 4 in the world in football passion as a nation. The highest percentage of the population, they're in the top 4 in the world. So they're, again, like Brazil, but we're already active in that market. Like that, it's unstoppable. We don't even really need to do anything there. We have 30,000 users there, growing at a higher than 8% in that country. And so that's already happening. And then, of course, from Nigeria, a lot of African countries can come behind. So that market is already underway. That's why I didn't mention it in where we're targeting next. And we are super excited about that market. And, again, we don't want to be geographically limited. The goal here is to reach all the football fans in every country, and even to convert new people into football fans, where in some countries, maybe like India, where it's maybe the 3rd or 4th or 5th most popular sport, we think that we can bring new people to maybe start to experience that.
Right, because they can interact. Now it's online with the app and the token.
Yeah, the more you learn about a sport, the more you start to like it. The more you interact with it, the more you like it. So I think that this is also part of our game plan.
Great. So we've talked. So that's really interesting, and we've talked now about, I think, the target, the users, the clients, the markets. Let's talk about partnerships. So, what major football leagues are you partnering with?
So it's in phases. So what happens is the first phase, we're reaching the fans, and we haven't needed the help of football clubs to reach the fans yet. Initially we thought maybe we might need them to promote, to accelerate. It turns out that the app's a pretty big hit, and when the word gets around that you can earn tokens and spend them at local places, it's an accelerant. So the second phase of our growth will be working with football clubs, and it will be more at that point about getting them to adopt the football coin. They can reach we will become the point of sale to their fan, where using the blockchain, using our technology, and using our direct access to the fan, they can increase their tickets and merchandise sales. And what we're going to ask in return for accessing their user base is for them to adopt the token as at a minimal level, to make sure that they do accept it. But some clubs, we're going to ask if they would be willing to accept it exclusively. Now, of course, this is a very big idea if we can pull that off. But we're already talking with clubs, but we don't have any official partnerships on the football level right now, because it hasn't been a priority. But again, later in this year, I think there will be announcements, because we are active in quite a few discussions, but nothing concrete yet to announce on the partnership side. Great.
And then the next question, this is actually from a European user. How will you affiliate with football clubs? And then again, a community user specifically asked about how that would work in Europe.
Yeah. So go ahead, George. So I don't do all the talking. I'll take a sip of coffee while you take it.
Go ahead. The most important constituent is the fan, okay? And what we have come to discover is that actually clubs football clubs, even big ones, don't really have great reach to the fans. And we see the fans in our app, Stephen, whereby they translate their passion into the app, and we can see how the football community can benefit from those fans, and messaging those fans via the growing TFA, the football app, is a very viable and a growing, and it wouldn't surprise us 2 years on, 3 years on, if we have more fans in the app than the clubs have that follow them, right? Although they support their clubs as they should. We're humble people. We don't wish to replace anybody, but it appears clubs can benefit if they wish by working with us because we have a growing pool of their fans. And man, you should see the passion of these guys in the app, when they play the games, when they engage. So we can see it's real,
George, can I just get in on that as well? Because Stephen, I think for what people got to realize is a lot of the times the fans are like a second-class citizen at times with some of these clubs. It would be great for the clubs to take the blinkers off and see what's going on, but sometimes they can't see it until it comes out of the ground. But what happens with the fans, the seeds planted, and the fans are starting to realize this is something, an app where they can win. Not only can I support my team, not only can I support it with a passion, but I could actually win, and I earn by doing it. So there's so many boxes that get ticked by being part of what the football app.
I think you'll find, if you look at the banking world, the banks called the Bitcoin rat poison and squared, and now every bank is like, including JP Morgan, Goldman, they're all trading it. So I think you'll find the same with the football club. It's terrible, and then once they realize they're missing out, then we love it. It's great. How do we?
That's right. That's right.
It's very funny, actually. So I think you'll see the same thing. And then which clubs, are there any clubs now specifically that are or will accept the football coin?
Yeah, we have, I want to save it for an announcement in the next, it could be as early as 30 days. We'll officially announce which club that is, and it'll probably go out, into one of the communications that we'll do together. And will be quite a milestone because this club is a very credible club. But you can see that just like any time you're doing something so novel, it's a proof of model of showing that a club can look at the world differently. And boy, has it helped that they're under financial pressure. Because when people get under financial pressure, they're looking for lifelines. They're looking for new models where when they were fat and happy 2 years ago, they only look at everything as a risk or something they don't need. But now that they really lost their ticket sales,
but everything's upside now. There's no downside anymore.
Now they're really interested in what we have to say about participating in the football app ecosystem. And so there will be an announcement, and it won't be a Premier League club, but it's a credible club, and I think that it shows the path into the future and a reference point for the model. And so we'll keep that under wraps for now.
And I want to add to that, because what Steve said and Kevin said goes hand in hand. The express business model that we have is that everybody wins. To us, the 20-year-old Nigerian kid, the 23-year-old lady in Indonesia who's in the app, who plays all the games, the guys in the UK, the big football clubs, the big players that will get involved, and they will get involved, right? You've got a legend like Kevin Campbell here, right? It's not a scenario where someone wins and someone may lose. Absolutely not. Everybody wins, and that's our desire. And to me, I'm just as motivated for the 20-year-old kid in Nigeria as I am for the biggest football club in the world. And people may say that's trite, but it's reality, because one doesn't win without the other. That's the beauty of our approach and our model.
Well, that's also, I think, part of the crypto ethos and community. It's very leveling, it's very inclusive. So I think that sort of fits in with the general sort of broader crypto community as well, which is great. So now I also understand there are businesses that you've grown your ecosystem. You already have businesses accepting the football coin or TFC. So what's in it for the businesses if they're going to take TFC?
So up till now, before we listed on Bittrex Global, the main thing that was in it for them was access to the fan. So as I mentioned, we got quite a big penetration in the island in user base. We had 5% of the country. So
you're talking about Cyprus, right? The island of Cyprus.
I'm talking about in Cyprus, where we have 1 million people. We had 5% of the country into the app. And even today, when I went to buy a phone, the guy who sold me the phone was a huge fan and recognized me. It's a small, when you have that level of penetration, all the small businesses want to access those users. So they would come into the football app, and what we told them is, if you want to reach the community, you have to accept TFC at your business, at least a few €100 or something from our community. And then what they do is they accept the token, and then they use that credit that they got and to run their ads. Now, some businesses started accepting higher and higher limits, and now that there's some potential liquidity for them, they could accept even at higher limits.
Then they can sell it on the exchange and not just buy.
But it's very interesting.
At some point, they'll saturate their desire to buy ads.
Yeah, it's an accelerant, but they really are the prime reason that they're accepting the token is so that they can reach our community and get new customers into their business. And that is sustainable, and that can go forever. And any liquidity that happens as a result of being on a great exchange like Bittrex Global can be an accelerant on that fundamental thing that is already working. And the kind of businesses are varied. There's over 20 kinds of businesses. There's restaurants, some big names like KFC locally here is accepting the token. There's accountants and lawyers. There's a car, everything. I mean, it's a whole economic ecosystem coming up around this locally, and we intend that model will continue in other countries. It's just bigger numbers in bigger countries, but that is the reason they accept it, is to reach the user. And now you may also have, because now of Bittrex Global, there is also the possibility that certain very crypto savvy business owners who are young might love our model, love our vision of our future, and they might start accept the token as a way of mining the token. Instead of buying it, they might just start accepting it from fans. And that costs them less money because it's only the cost of goods sold. And that also increases their business. So that is a new possibility that goes on top of the already proven advertising value that we offer to the businesses.
But as you grow the community, I could imagine too, like Adidas or people who are selling products that want to get into that. I mean, it's, even boring. I mean, again, these guys like to go out and eat, they like to travel. So, I mean, anybody would want to target this community, I would imagine.
They would. And that's an important point about the potential. There was so much, we all know what happened when, a Tesla allegedly, and I'm sure they did, buy 1.5 billion of Bitcoin, as they mentioned, and that took Bitcoin price up hundreds of billions of dollars. That was a huge purchase. And
they took the market cap, not the price. They took the price from like 30 up to 50.
Yeah, the market.
The market almost doubled the market cap.
They increased the market cap by hundreds of billions, potentially. I mean, no one knows exactly all these dynamics, but that was a purchase of 1.5 billion. But think about a company like Twitter, which is what we strive to be, a Twitter-sized user base. And imagine that Twitter makes $1 billion in revenue or more every quarter. And if the Adidas of the world had to buy the token to run those ads, you would have a constant base level demand from the real world on a token. And so, this is not representing that we will become as big as Twitter and all those things, but I'm saying about the model is viable. And so when those big brands like Adidas and Nike are attracted into the football market, they're going to have to pay for the ads with TFC tokens. They might buy them on an exchange from users. The company may have an inventory of some available to sell to them, to give them the credits in the system. But you get the idea that it's a really great way to put an economic basis and a utility behind a token ecosystem.
Great. That's really interesting. So I think moving on to the next community question. So someone is asking, what is the relationship between your app and the exchanges?
The relationship between the app and which?
The exchanges, like Bittrex Global, like other crypto exchanges.
Well, the app itself, there's really not, the relationship is with the token and the exchange. And then the football app itself is just enabling infrastructure for the token ecosystem. So what we're describing there of the exchange providing extra liquidity and utility for small businesses to be able to accept more TFC to attract more new customers in. So it's an indirect relationship, the relationship between the football app and the exchange. It's an indirect relationship, and the primary, of course, direct relationship, and everything is centered around the token and the sharing of the wealth of that community via those models. Okay.
And then there were some specific follow-up questions on this. So one user is asking, right now on the TFA app, we can get the football coin through games, predictions, trivia, etc. Will this continue now, or will it stop with that now that this is going to be publicly listed?
No, it's continuing. We have of the 1.5 billion tokens, there is a pool of 800 million tokens, which is for the users and the partners like football clubs that may come in as partners in the future. And these are going out to the community, and we're not, and I think, of course, there's more, the earlier users get more because of the way that there's fewer people taking the same number of tokens that are available inside the app through the games and through the different mechanisms. No, so we're not slowing that down. That continues, and it will continue until the entire supply of those tokens is depleted. And even at that point, the football app may be able to replenish that fund to some degree with tokens that it's receiving from its advertising operations. So really, I think it will continue. And our goal is we want to have a token, a TFC token, in the hands of 100 million people or more, and they should just come on in and get it. If they don't have to know anything about crypto, they don't even have to have a bank account. They just need to love football, know how to download an app, and go through, do what they love to grab a token out of that.
Yeah. Sometimes we refer to it colloquially amongst ourselves as, real life crypto for the masses. Just in Cyprus, we have concluded, not we, but the whole ecosystem, there have been more than 800,000 transactions paid for in TFC. And Cyprus is a very small island. They don't adopt technology very quickly, right?
Right. So it's a great sandbox, as they say, like to try it out there in a hard to use place. So I think this should bode well for moving into a place like UK, where it's crypto savvy and football savvy as well.
Absolutely.
So one last question in this vein. Another community member asked, I have TFC on the TFA app. Can I transfer this to Bittrex Global?
So just like when Google or some big company goes public, they generally have they lock up the employees who have shares until the market is made and stabilized. And we've followed this path as opposed to the other ecosystems where maybe they put out a lot of tokens, they use the funds raised to try to build a product. We built a product, we made the models work, we gave away the tokens, and we made them spendable inside the app. And the people that can take tokens out right now are the businesses. So the businesses who accept TFC from the users can take the tokens out to Bittrex Global and sell them. And if they're able to do that successfully, that means they can keep accepting more and more tokens from the users. So everybody will win in that regard. Now, in the future, there will be many ways to get TFC out of the app, but it's a benefit to the whole community that our whole community has been well educated on, that that's not the current, we're kind of like a HODL kind of community, and we even have a kind of a staking program inside the app. And so we're sticking as a community together until we can really mature the model and kind of skip a lot of these kind of big down cycles that some of the other token ecosystems had, where they had too much supply out there. So that's kind of the short and long answer of it. They can spend it now. There will be later this year already some ways to take some tokens out, but the people who can take out for sure right now are the businesses who are accepting TFC.
Great. I think that's actually really, that bodes well. Like I think even if it weren't true, it's the right thing to say, but it is true. So that's great to hear. So in terms of, since we have some time, there's a bonus question. So one of your community members has asked, does Steve ever sleep? Because he is always online. I see George laughing.
I guess there's something like called sleep texting, or maybe I've got my. Now, I mean, I think it's getting a little bit easier now because we have some amazing administrators. It's a community effort, But in the early days, I will tell you this: my hands are getting numb, honestly, from how many times I've been using the phone. I'm like, I can barely touch the phone. I have nerve sensitivity issues, and my glasses are getting thicker. But I am getting my sleep nowadays, and I think that me carrying a lot of that energy, those days are over. And now the community, we have great administrators, we have more and more volunteers, more and more people coming in and taking the pressure off me, because I didn't really want to be the center of this attention, but somebody had to be in the first charge and lose some sleep. So I'm sleeping well now, but over the last year I did quite a few hours in.
Yeah, no, it's very hard with these Telegram groups. You can just go all night because somebody's awake somewhere, and it's bad for your sleep. I agree, but that's good to hear. So we'll have to make sure you sleep a bit. So there's a question for us at Bittrex Global, and the question is, which football team do you root for? So of course I'm going to have to answer Arsenal. Very big.
Good answer, Steve. Good answer, Steve.
That was a good
I love
answer,
that.
right?
Stephen, good answer.
Okay, good. So I think that's pretty much all the questions from the community, but we still have some time. So is there anything else you got? This has been great. Like anything else you want to cover, or things you want to, any of you that you want to bring out that folks who want to maybe buy the football coin should be aware of?
Yeah, Kevin, I haven't done my predictions yet for tonight's game. West Brom Everton. What are you predicting?
I think it's going to be a close game. I think Everton are just going to sneak it 2-1. So there you go.
I'm going to predict 2-1 to Everton. Thank you. That's one of the games, Stephen. Right?
Yeah, the predictions. The predictions game. I mean, that is one of the highlights of. Everybody loves to make predictions, and because our theme, we don't like win-lose. We would never want it to get into the world of betting, because that's win-lose world. Somebody wins, somebody loses. We wanted to invent models that are win-win. So inside the football app, there's daily predictions competitions. They're free, and the winners earn TFC. They earn points that convert to TFC. So that's one of the kind of mining operations in the app. And some of the other, this is just fun things that people who are new might want to try out. Just make your predictions. And again, that's a good way to start getting to learn about the sport and fall in love with it. I'm a Liverpool fan, but the reason I became a Liverpool fan is because I read a book, the biography of Steven Gerrard. And up until I read that book, I didn't really understand the sports psychology and how intense the passion was. And when I read that book, I fell in love with football, and I liked Liverpool, before they were, the big star platform that they are now. So a lot of people who don't even like football much might really enjoy these predictions. It lets you learn about the match. You start to interact with things. We also have predictions leagues. We have users that upgrade to get access to better leagues and predictions competitions. And we also have some games, trivia games that are running almost every day in the chat rooms. It's really a gaming centric app. And we have a special game called Midnight Madness, and it runs at midnight Dubai time. And at midnight Dubai time, you have to guess a number 1 through 7 exactly at midnight. If you guess too early, you lose. If you guess at midnight or later, if you're in the first 77 people, you win TFC. And I can see that is a really fun game. It's just something we made up during the lockdown because everybody was so
as one does, right?
Really, we made up a lot of great games during the lockdown, and it's turned into really a beating heart of our app. And we have 7-year-old kids playing this. We have 80-year-old ladies. It's the same audience as Facebook. So just sharing with the users that with the football app, it's a deep ecosystem. It takes a little time to get oriented. You don't even have to be a football fan to play it, but I think you'll become a football fan if you hang out in that app for too long. And addiction warning. I have to give an addiction warning because I'm sure everybody everybody who's promoting an app would always say their app is great. But I am telling you, if somebody spends a month in that app, it's finished. You're done. You're going to spend a lot of time in there because you'll learn you'll learn where all the games are, where all the secret spots are, how to earn these points. You'll meet a lot of new people. You'll fall in love with the football club, and you'll end up dumping Facebook and just doing your social interaction and sharing inside.
Well, there's more reasons to dump Facebook than that anyway now. They're making it easy to get rid of them, aren't they?
Steve, can I just say, I think if people get into the app and then they start going into the chat rooms, they're never going to leave because the chat rooms are absolutely fantastic. Very knowledgeable fans, very good energy in there. And probably one of the most important things, what's happening in England right now, is there is no racism. Zero racism is tolerated within the app, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, we're very proud of that. And, for all the talk in the world that there are so many charitable initiatives trying to do world peace, right? And I've never seen any that are extremely effective. But I will tell you that money talks to people and common interest. And we accidentally found a formula that allows people to get along. So we, being in Cyprus and having launched here, the Cypriots and the Turks, have issues as
Putting it lightly, yes.
As well as we have a lot of people who are different religions from different countries in Nigeria and other countries that are, and it's easy for these people on Twitter to get in a fight. But what happens, because in our chat rooms, it's all about the positive energy of earning tokens and following football, we found a culture shift that people started to focus less on the issues that divide us and more on the issues that unite us. And then, of course, we have the ultimate enforcement tool, which is if somebody, we just don't tolerate racism. We just have to move past that as humanity.
Of course.
And one of the enforcement tools we have is simply we kick them out of the room where you earn tokens. And you can't imagine how much.
So it's amazing, the economic incentive, capitalism.
You can't imagine.
You shouldn't be racist anyway, but if you choose to, we'll make it. It's going to cost you, so you shouldn't be.
That's it. So we've accidentally, found a formula that allows us to focus and unite together and experience the beauties of each other's cultures around something we all care about and exercise a sense of community to a common purpose, which is, again, in the spirit of both crypto and football. I think crypto is starting to become splintered up a little bit into fiefdoms, as we know. But football, they found that, you're a football fan and you're with it, but you don't say, we don't have football maximalists, that there's only one football club and there shouldn't be any others. There are always going to be others. And you're allowed to support the one that you want to fall in love with the most. But yeah, so yeah.
Well, it's amazing. I agree with everything you're trying to do there, and it sounds you guys are really passionate about not just football, but the app, but the community, and what you're trying to build here. So I think it's great. I think people can definitely feel that. So I think on that note, why don't we wrap things up? Thank you so much to the community for joining us today, and the FutbolCoin, the TFC team for this AMA. I think we've learned a lot about the FutbolCoin. It's been great to chat with you. Love what you're doing to bring football fans and players into the crypto fold. And if our listeners want to learn more about the FutbolCoin, please go to https://thefootballcoin.io and make sure you download the football app. So thanks again to the team at the FutbolCoin, and Kevin, Steve, and George. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.